facing him. Rick entered the hotel lounge to enjoy his complimentary beer, a gesture from the management. The nightly event always drew a good number of guests, who typically left after the free drink to dine elsewhere. Having arrived that morning and spent the afternoon in meetings, followed by a jog on the treadmill and a quick shower, Rick was ready for a light meal at the bar before turning in early. He found a vacant stool at the bar, sandwiched between two women chatting and a man sitting solo. After settling in, he ordered his beer and browsed the menu, opting for scallops and pasta. While waiting for his meal, Rick sipped his beer and browsed his phone. His wife, Kim, was out with friends, leaving him with little to catch up on. He half-watched the sports news on the TV and started listening to the conversation of the women next to him. The woman further from him, who looked to be in her mid-30s with shoulder-length dark hair, was discussing car shopping with her companion, a slender blonde of a similar age. "Steve and I can't decide on a car after seeing so many," she said. "Which do you prefer?" asked the blonde. The brunette responded, "I'm leaning towards a sedan, but Steve is considering a convertible." The blonde joked, "The classic sports car phase." They both laughed. Rick, who'd been chuckling at their exchange, caught the brunette's eye. She said, "No offense intended." Rick, still smiling, responded, "None taken. I was eavesdropping, so I should apologize. I had my sports car moment last year." The women laughed, and the brunette introduced herself as Kathy and her friend as Nicole. Rick greeted them, taking the opportunity to get a better look at Nicole, who turned to face him. She was an attractive blonde with a short, neat haircut and stylish glasses, giving her a smart, professional look. Kathy, with her athletic build and freckles, appeared more outdoorsy and youthful. "So, what vehicle did you settle on?" Nicole inquired. Rick shared, "I went with a Jeep Wrangler Unlimited. It's versatile with a cloth top for summer and a hard top for winter, plus it seats 5 like a sedan." Kathy was curious, "Do you enjoy driving it?" Rick nodded, "Absolutely. It's my daily drive. I don't mind its truck-like feel, especially when I need the 4-wheel drive. My wife's even starting to appreciate it." As Rick's meal arrived, Kathy and Nicole discussed various car options while he ate. The women decided to order another round of drinks, and Rick, feeling generous, offered to cover the tab. "Thanks for that." Nicole expressed gratitude as the drinks were served. Their conversation included Rick and grew more animated with each sip. Their chat veered from TV shows to movies. Nicole mentioned she'd recently seen 50 Shades of Grey. "How was it?" Rick asked. Nicole hesitated, looking a bit awkward. She glanced at Kathy, who seemed amused but didn't interject. "He was all right," Nicole finally said. "Those types of relationships seem pretty far-fetched, though. Do you think such relationships are uncommon?" Rick queried. Nicole stuttered slightly, "I'm not really sure. I don't know anyone who." Rick, with a straight face, interjected, "Actually, my wife is quite like the character in the movie." "A what?" Kathy asked, puzzled. "A dominatrix, similar to the movie's protagonist," he explained. Nicole gasped in surprise, and both women burst into laughter. Nicole, trying to continue the banter, joked, "So, does that mean you're—" Her question trailed off into more laughter. Kathy, caught off guard, accidentally spilled her drink, leading to even more laughter among the group. Rick just smiled and took a sip of his beer, enjoying the light-hearted atmosphere. Rick waited with an amiable grin for Nicole and Kathy's laughter to subside. "Actually, in our relationship, I'm more of the submissive one," he clarified. "As for your question about gender roles or attire, that's not something we're interested in." The laughter ceased as they grasped Rick's earnestness. Their curiosity piqued, they began asking more questions. Rick shared that years ago, he and his wife discovered a mutual interest in her taking the lead in their intimate life. This led them to explore role-playing and sharing fantasies. One such fantasy involved his wife, Kim, playfully pretending to be involved with others, which they both found exhilarating. Kim delved into researching this lifestyle online, eventually joining a discussion group. They started by observing other couples, a practice known as soft swinging. Eventually, they met a couple at a party and decided to fully engage in the lifestyle, which they both found fulfilling. Kathy, picking up on the shift in topic, remarked, "So, this is more about swinging than S&M?" Rick nodded, "Exactly. My enjoyment comes from seeing Kim with others, but she felt uneasy about me doing the same. So, we agreed that she would have control over my interactions. That forms the core of her dominance in our relationship." Nicole asked, "So you only get involved with others if she approves?" "That's correct," Rick replied with a smile. Nicole and Kathy continued to inquire about the dynamics of Rick and Kim's relationship, and Rick answered their questions openly. Nicole, probing further, asked, "What if I invited you to my room right now?" Rick responded, still smiling, "As much as I find you attractive, I couldn't accept your invitation without my wife's consent." Nicole blushed at the compliment, surprised by Rick's refusal, even in a hypothetical scenario. She realized that the combination of the conversation and the drinks had stirred her emotions. The conversation continued to flow as another round of drinks arrived. Nicole and Kathy began sharing their most adventurous experiences. Nicole confessed to a risky outdoor encounter with an ex-boyfriend during a vacation, where they might have been seen, though she believed they weren't. Kathy, after a moment's hesitation, revealed she had once been in a threesome with her husband, Steve, and his college friend. Nicole was visibly surprised, and Rick exchanged a knowing glance with Kathy, who smiled in response. Rick, curious, asked, "How did Steve feel about the experience with his friend?" Kathy explained, "We had all had quite a bit to drink, but Steve later said it was an incredibly exciting experience for him. The next day, after his friend left, Steve and I were still energized by the experience. We've thought about doing it again, but finding the right person has been a challenge. We're hesitant about meeting someone online, and Steve's friend is now out of reach." Rick shared that it can indeed be tricky to involve a third person in a relationship. He mentioned that many couples he and Kim know prefer separate encounters with others, sharing their experiences afterward. As they talked, Rick was absent-mindedly fiddling with a black rubber band on his wrist. Nicole, observing this and noting it was his only accessory besides his wedding ring, asked, "What's that bracelet you're wearing?" For the first time, Rick seemed a bit uneasy. He confessed, "It's not actually a bracelet." Kathy, intrigued, pressed, "Then what is it?" In a quieter voice, Rick admitted, "It's a cock ring." This revelation sent Nicole and Kathy into peals of laughter, leaning on each other for support. Rick, joining in, laughed along with them. Kathy joked, "If it fits your wrist, I bet you're quite the sensation at those gatherings." Rick clarified, "It's a special kind, designed to encircle both the penis and the testicles. And there's actually a story behind why I wear it like this." After a brief silence, Kathy urged him, "Do tell us the story." Rick shared with Kathy and Nicole that when he travels, Kim asks him to wear the ring on his wrist. She had set a rule, he couldn't talk about it unless asked, but if a woman inquired, he was obliged to fulfill her request, within safe and consensual boundaries. The ring also played a part in their intimate moments, serving as a constant reminder of his commitment to Kim. Kathy playfully nudged Nicole, "Looks like you've got a chance with Rick tonight, after all." Nicole, now a bit uneasy, smiled as both Kathy and Rick laughed. Rick calmly stated, "Nicole, the choice is yours, of course." As they continued their conversation and finished their drinks, Kathy curiously asked if anyone else had ever questioned Rick about the bracelet. Rick admitted it had happened twice before. He recounted the first incident, involving a saleslady in a store who was taken aback when he explained its significance. She didn't take up the offer, much to Rick's relief. When he told Kim about the encounter, she found it amusing and was pleased he followed her instructions, rewarding him later in their own way. The second time occurred in Raleigh, North Carolina. Rick noticed a striking redhead in a hotel bar, who approached him, recognizing him. She introduced herself as Anna, a friend of Kim's, but Rick couldn't recall her. She reminded him of Lolita Davidovich from the film Intersection. Even though Rick didn't remember her, he greeted her politely. Anna's interest in Rick's bracelet led her to request a private conversation. Rick, realizing the situation, excused himself from his sports discussion and accompanied Anna to a secluded spot in the bar. "Tell me about the bracelet," Anna insisted, locking eyes with Rick. Rick paused his story, noting Kathy and Nicole's eagerness for details. "And then," urged Nicole. Rick, with a teasing smile, replied, "I'm not one to reveal personal details." Kathy, playfully acting frustrated, grabbed Rick's shoulders in a mock shake. Nicole, equally playful, nudged him for more information, reminding him of his obligation to answer. Rick then explained that Kim had orchestrated this encounter. She knew Anna from an online community, and Anna had been influential in encouraging them to explore new dimensions in their relationship. When Kim learned Rick was heading to Raleigh, she arranged for Anna to meet him. "Come on, what happened next?" Nicole pressed, visibly intrigued. Rick described how he and Anna went to his hotel room. Anna, casually dressed in jeans, a blouse, and striking red heels, carried a leather bag. In the room, she instructed Rick to get comfortable while she changed. Kathy and Nicole listened intently as Rick continued, mentioning Anna's relaxed demeanor as she changed. Nicole, caught up in the story, asked, what was she wearing underneath? Rick, keeping the mood light and respectful, managed to convey the essence of the encounter while maintaining a level of discretion and sensitivity to the personal nature of the experience. "Is that really what you're curious about next?" Kathy asked Nicole with a hint of sarcasm. Nicole simply shrugged. Rick, continuing his narrative, said she was wearing a white thong with no other undergarments. She was in great shape, and both her fingernails and toenails were painted red. He then hesitated, looking somewhat uneasy. "This next part is a bit awkward for me," he admitted. "Anna had me prepare in a certain way before we got started. It was my first experience like that as an adult. Anna mentioned her preference for a specific type of play, and she wanted to make sure I was ready." Kathy reacted with surprise. "Oh my goodness." Rick described how Anna then led him back to the bed and initiated their encounter. "But then she reminded me of something I'd forgotten," he added. "I suddenly remembered the cock ring, taking it off my wrist. Meanwhile, Anna was searching through her bag. I put the ring on, and when I looked up, she had some wrist restraints and rope with her." Rick explained that Kim later told him about Anna's expertise in bondage. "She secured me with the restraints and rope, attaching them to the bed. Then she was very thorough in her approach," he said, pausing again. "Talking about this with people I've just met is quite challenging." I think it was even easier to explain the bracelet to the saleslady. Nicole and Kathy were completely engrossed in his story. Keep going, Nicole encouraged. Kim would be pleased you're sticking to her rules. Tell us what happened next. Rick noticed that Kathy and Nicole were visibly intrigued by his story. He could see their excitement in their expressions and body language. Continuing his tale, he described how Anna changed her approach during their encounter. Just when I thought she was going to continue in a certain way, she stopped and went back to her bag. She brought out more rope, tying my ankles in a way that restricted my leg movement, ensuring I couldn't close my legs or lower them, Rick explained. She was so skilled with the rope, it was tight but not uncomfortable. We chatted about our experiences in the lifestyle, and she made sure to tell me that I could say red if I needed her to stop at any point, or mercy if I just needed a break. Rick then paused, noting the intense reactions from Nicole and Kathy. After she finished, she untied me and left, he concluded abruptly. Kathy, not satisfied with the abrupt ending, protested, "You're leaving out the most interesting part." Nicole, curious, asked, "Didn't that cause you discomfort?" Rick sighed. Kim and I have explored similar things before, but Kim had never used a strap-on with me. Anna was very considerate and gentle, and it was a surprisingly pleasant experience. She was quite vocal during the whole process, making sure I was okay. It didn't take long for me to reach a peak due to her simultaneous internal and external stimulation. He added, afterward, she took off the harness and switched to a different kind of intimacy, which was quite intense. She seemed to enjoy it as much as I did. After she was satisfied, she turned around, continuing to engage with me in a different way. Rick's story, detailed yet respectful of the more intimate aspects, left Kathy and Nicole deeply engrossed, reflecting on the complexity and diversity of human relationships and experiences. I continued to caress her tenderly, moving slowly and gently. The closeness and intimacy of the moment was palpable. We were completely in sync, lost in each other's embrace. She reciprocated my affection with equal tenderness, creating a sense of deep connection that was both exhilarating and comforting. The intensity of our interaction was heightened by my restrained state, making every touch feel magnified. After a while, she turned to face me, sharing a warm, deep kiss. It was a special moment between us, one that reminded me of similar experiences with Kim. We both seemed to enjoy this unique way of sharing our affection. Following our intimate moment, she helped me out of my restraints, gently massaging my wrists and legs. Her touch was soothing, and it was comforting to feel her hands on me after being tied up. We spent some time cuddling and chatting, sharing how much we appreciated the time spent together. She expressed a hope that if Kim joined us in the future, we could all enjoy each other's company. After our time together, we both freshened up and she left. Shortly after, I received a call from Kim. Anna had filled her in on our session, sparking Kim's imagination. I indulged her curiosity with detailed description, which she seemed to appreciate greatly. The conversation then shifted to my friends, Rick, Nicole, and Kathy. Kathy suddenly suggested taking Rick to her room, surprising Nicole with her boldness. Nicole was hesitant, reminding Kathy of her marital status. However, Kathy, undeterred, expressed her desire for a new experience, hinting at her husband's encouragement. Kathy then turned to Nicole, inviting her to join, and reminiscing about their college days when they were roommates and had discussed such adventures. She pointed out Nicole's current single status as an added reason to consider the proposition. The situation was charged with spontaneity and the excitement of old friends reuniting under unexpected circumstances. "I'm not sure I'm comfortable with this, especially with someone else around, even if it is my best friend," Nicole expressed her hesitation. Rick, trying to ease her concerns, encouraged her to recall an adventurous moment from her past. "Remember that time you dared to do something exciting in an open space," he suggested. Part of its thrill was the risk involved, the possibility of being discovered. That element of unpredictability might have been a part of its appeal. Rick found himself quite keen on persuading Nicole to go along with Kathy's idea. Both women, in their mid-30s, had qualities that Rick admired. Kathy had a strong, athletic build, maintained through activities like Zumba and cycling. Nicole, on the other hand, had a more slender, elegant physique. Her fashion choices, particularly her high heels, accentuated her grace and style, which Rick found particularly appealing. Nicole appeared to be deep in thought, biting her lips slightly as her gaze wandered between Kathy and Rick. After a moment of contemplation, she made her decision. "Okay," she said, picking up her purse from the bar. "Let's head to my room." Rick settled the bill as they left for the elevators. On their way, he reflected on the personal story he had shared with Nicole and Kathy in the bar, about how he and his wife had explored new dimensions in their relationship. Nicole was leading the way to her room on the 4th floor, seemingly pondering over what might unfold next. Rick noticed her fumbling with her clutch, searching for her room key while pressing the elevator button. Kathy stood by Nicole, appearing more at ease with the situation. Rick inquired, "Do you need to check in with your husband before we proceed?" Kathy responded with a smile, "I'm not sure what's going to happen next. What would I even say if I called him?" "That decision lies with Nicole," Rick added, turning to her with a questioning look. As the elevator arrived and a couple exited, Nicole finally found her key card, holding it up with a sense of triumph. Rick courteously gestured for the women to enter first, following them inside. As the elevator doors closed, Kathy turned to Nicole and asked directly, "So, what are we doing, Nikki?" Nicole was trying to steady her emotions, and in response to Kathy's questioning look, she somewhat abruptly suggested, "Why don't you just give him a kiss?" Kathy reached out to Rick, who moved closer and embraced her. Their initial kiss was hesitant, but it quickly grew more intense, evolving into a passionate exchange. As they were wrapped up in each other's arms, the elevator reached the 4th floor, prompting Rick to gently break the embrace as the doors opened. Both were noticeably flustered, and Rick's hand trembled slightly as he held the door open for them. Nicole, clearly awestruck, led the way out of the elevator with an impressed wow. Kathy, arm in arm with Rick, followed her to room 449, where Nicole unlocked the door. Once inside, the initial tension resurfaced. Rick, looking to alleviate the pressure, suggested that Nicole and Kathy take a moment to discuss their plans for him. He reminded them that he was there to follow Nicole's directions, so any ideas from Kathy would need to come through Nicole. Kathy, seeming to take the lead, guided Nicole towards the bedroom for a private conversation, leaving Rick to wait. Remembering their playful rule, Kathy reminded Nicole to instruct Rick to stay put. "Stay," Nicole said, her hand outstretched, as if she were commanding a pet. The situation's absurdity struck them all, and they burst into laughter, easing some of the tension. Rick reassured them he had no intention of leaving, given the intriguing scenario unfolding with the two women. Nicole, a bit flushed, was led away by Kathy for a hushed, intense discussion in the bedroom. At one point, Nicole's surprised voice could be heard exclaiming in disbelief. Shortly after, they returned to where Rick was waiting. Nicole, though visibly nervous, gathered her composure with Kathy's supportive presence. Taking a deep breath, she then directed Rick with a simple instruction, "Please take it off." Rick responded with a smile. The entire moment was brief, taking no more than 15 seconds, but Rick felt a bit nervous and wanted to keep things moving smoothly. Nicole and Kathy watched him with anticipation, their expressions a mix of surprise and curiosity. "Wow," Nicole exclaimed, visibly impressed. Rick couldn't help but feel a bit self-conscious as he noticed their attention. He responded modestly, "Well, it's just how I am naturally," acknowledging his physical attributes without dwelling on the specifics. Kathy, unfazed, casually mentioned her past experiences, indicating that she was no stranger to such situations. Nicole, with a hint of challenge in her tone, suggested Kathy demonstrate her confidence. The suggestion sparked laughter among them. Kathy, still smiling, reminded Nicole that her instructions were for Rick, not for her. Nicole, playing along, teased about a previous conversation they had, which only added to their amusement. Seeing the mood lighten, Rick decided to move things along. He stepped closer to Kathy and shared another kiss. Then, he gently started to lift her sweater, pausing to ensure she was comfortable with it. Kathy cooperated, raising her arms to assist. Underneath, she wore an elegant maroon bra that complemented her figure. Rick then turned his attention to her jeans, working to unzip them. The jeans, fitting snugly, required a bit more effort, so he knelt down to ease them off, revealing her matching maroon underwear. Kathy stood confidently, placing her hands on Rick's shoulders. He then helped her out of her sandals and jeans, admiring her athletic physique. His hands gently traced up her legs to her hips and then around to her back. He looked up at her with admiration, and she returned his gaze with a smile of approval. Suggesting they move to the bedroom, Kathy led the way, holding Rick's hand. Nicole followed, appreciating Rick's well-toned physique, a result of his regular exercise routine. His lean, muscular build was evident, matching the overall tone of the evening. Once they entered the bedroom, Rick sat on the bed, inviting Kathy to come closer. She stood between his legs, playing with his hair that had hints of gray amidst the brown. He leaned forward, showing his affection for her with gentle kisses. Kathy seemed to enjoy the tenderness, a contented smile on her face. Nicole, observing from a corner of the bed, seemed a bit hesitant. Noticing this, Rick encouraged her, "Why don't you make yourself comfortable as well, Nicole?" Nicole took off her glasses, placing them on the nightstand, and then removed her sweater, revealing a simple camisole. Rick noticed the outline of her small figure through the fabric, recalling how he had noticed it earlier in the evening. Nicole then proceeded to remove her shoes and pants, wearing cute, casual underwear. She appeared a bit shy as she took a deep breath before removing them. Rick sensed her hesitation and made a mental note to be considerate and patient with her. Once she was ready, Nicole stood there, a bit self-conscious but also flattered by Kathy's compliment about her physique. She modestly acknowledged that she had gained a little weight since college, though it was hardly noticeable. Rick, wanting to make Nicole feel more at ease, requested, "Could you please take off your top too?" Nicole seemed unsure, expressing her hesitation. Kathy gently pointed out Nicole's self-consciousness about her small size. Rick, wanting to reassure her, expressed his appreciation for her figure. "Please come here," he invited, reaching out his hand. Nicole stepped closer, and Rick gently drew her towards him, running his hands across her chest in a comforting manner. Nicole reacted with a mix of surprise and pleasure, embracing Rick in response. He hugged her back, his hands moving under her camisole in a caring gesture. He delicately attended to her, ensuring she felt comfortable and appreciated. After a few moments, Rick's gentle encouragement led Nicole to slowly remove her camisole, revealing her petite figure. Her shyness gradually gave way to a sense of ease and acceptance in the moment. A week later, Nicole found herself reflecting on the unexpected turn of events in her life. She was sharing a bed with an incredibly attractive man she had just met that day, and beside him, her closest friend from college. The experience was new to her, a leap from her usual cautious approach to relationships, where she waited for deeper connections before getting intimate. Now, she was exploring a more assertive role, discovering a newfound enjoyment in leading the way. She observed the man, Rick, with interest. His appearance reminded her of classic Hollywood stars, with a chiseled jaw and youthful charm. He seemed around 40, but his fit physique made it hard to be sure. As Nicole's gaze lingered, Rick noticed and remarked that he needed a moment's break. He carefully removed an accessory he was wearing, mentioning it was slightly uncomfortable after prolonged use. Nicole, feeling a mix of anticipation and curiosity, inquired if Rick could pay her the same attention as her friend. He reassured her with a term of endearment, indicating his willingness to oblige after a short rest. This casual familiarity made Nicole feel unexpectedly warm and valued. Meanwhile, Kathy, her friend, was casually lounging beside Rick. Her relaxed and open posture contrasted with Nicole's own more reserved nature. Kathy's confidence and unreserved demeanor left Nicole both amazed and somewhat envious. Kathy playfully questioned Rick about his stamina, hinting at a continuation of their evening. Rick, with a humorous acknowledgement of the situation, expressed his readiness to please them both once more. This lighthearted exchange added to the unconventional yet intriguing atmosphere that surrounded them. Nicole, caught up in the moment, blurted out, "I guess I'm up next then, since Kathy has other plans." She immediately felt a blush color her cheeks at her own forwardness. Rick chimed in with a suggestion. "How about reigniting the chemistry you two had earlier? That could really set the mood." Both Nicole and Kathy shifted uncomfortably, avoiding each other's gaze. Kathy, with a touch of humor, asked, "Nikki, where did that come from? You've got me wondering now." She quickly added, "Not that there's anything wrong with that," trying to lighten the mood. Their laughter filled the room as they all recognized Kathy's use of a cliché response. Nicole defended herself, "You were the one who initiated it." Kathy, surprised, retorted, "But you kissed me first tonight." Nicole countered, "Remember our college homecoming party at Steve's? It started it all." Kathy, recalling the event from over a decade ago, responded, "I didn't think you were interested back then." Nicole admitted softly, "Maybe I was curious too." She added with a playful tone, "Was it really that awkward?" Kathy, moving closer to Nicole, reassured her, No, it was a surprise. But a good one." Struggling to find the right words, she finally settled on nice. Their laughter broke the tension. Kathy, looking at Nicole with affection, asked, "Are you okay with this, Nikki?" Nicole nodded, smiling. Kathy gave her a friendly kiss, which Nicole returned with more enthusiasm. They found themselves in a gentle embrace, momentarily forgetting about Rick's presence as they enjoyed their lighthearted exchange. After a while, Kathy pulled back and asked with a curious smile, "So, how was that for you?" Nicole, still in the moment, replied, "I'm not sure about taking things further, but this is definitely fun." Their conversation continued, exploring new boundaries of their friendship in a playful and light manner, each discovering new aspects of their relationship. Nicole, puzzled, asked, "What do you mean?" Kathy responded with a hint of mischief, "Well, it looks like our playful antics have caught Rick's attention again." Both Nicole and Kathy glanced over at Rick, noticing his renewed interest in their interaction. Nicole, feeling adventurous, moved closer to Rick and picked up an accessory from the mattress. She used it playfully, guiding Rick in a teasing manner. For Nicole, this was another novel experience, and she was intrigued by the novelty of it all. As she continued, Nicole focused on Rick with a newfound curiosity, recalling how Kathy had earlier handled a similar situation. She imitated those movements, noticing Rick's reaction to her touch. Kathy, observing Nicole's efforts, offered some friendly advice. "Just relax and go at your own pace," she suggested. Nicole took the advice to heart, managing to adjust her approach. She was pleased to see her progress, feeling a sense of accomplishment in this new experience. Rick, meanwhile, watched as Kathy shared her knowledge with Nicole, helping her navigate this new territory. Kathy's encouragement led Nicole to experiment further, though it proved to be a bit challenging for her. Despite the difficulty, Nicole was determined and managed to make some progress. After a few attempts, Nicole looked up at Rick, a mix of determination and laughter in her eyes, her makeup slightly smudged from her efforts. Rick, impressed and touched by her enthusiasm, said, "That was incredible. You've really got me captivated. Shall we move on to what you asked for earlier?" Nicole nodded in agreement, and Rick gently lay down beside her, mindful of her comfort. He kissed her deeply, expressing his admiration and affection. Nicole wrapped her arms around him, responding to his kiss with equal passion. Rick, showing a considerate side, asked Nicole about protection, reflecting on how he hadn't thought to ask Kathy the same question earlier. Nicole's innocence and openness seemed to call for a more thoughtful approach. "Yeah, I'm all set," Nicole reassured him, lifting her head to return his kiss with an added sense of trust and intimacy. Nicole, caught up in the heat of the moment, guided Rick closer to her, feeling a surge of excitement from their earlier interactions. She positioned herself, indicating she was ready for a closer connection. Rick, attentive to her cues, proceeded with care. Nicole's response was one of intense sensation, her body reacting vividly to their intimacy. Rick, focused on her comfort, took his time, ensuring a gentle and gradual progression. Nicole's reactions were vocal, expressing her astonishment and pleasure in a rhythmic cadence, synchronized with Rick's movements. Kathy, observing them with a smile, commented, "Rick's really making an impression, isn't he, Nikki?" Nicole, breathless and exhilarated, managed to articulate her amazement, her words punctuated by the rhythm of their connection. Rick, mindful not to overextend, maintained a steady and considerate pace, though Nicole still seemed to envelop him completely. He was conscious of her experience, wanting to ensure it remained pleasurable and not overwhelming. Kathy, joining in their moment, affectionately engaged with Nicole, adding another layer of sensation. Nicole, overwhelmed by the intensity, clung to both Rick and Kathy, as if anchoring herself amidst the powerful emotion and physical sensations. As their connection deepened, Nicole began to move more actively, meeting Rick's motions with her own, her body instinctively seeking a fuller experience. Rick felt Nicole's increasing involvement, her legs pulling him closer, yet he remained cautious, not wanting to overstep her comfort. He was conscious of their physical differences, and the sight of their union was striking in its contrast. Kathy, watching them, couldn't help but comment on the intense connection she was witnessing. Nicole, now fully engaged, felt every movement more acutely, her body responding to each of Rick's thrusts. The sensation was overwhelming, her mind caught up in the realization of their profound connection. This realization, combined with the physical stimulation, propelled Nicole into a whirlwind of emotion and sensation. Rick felt Nicole's intense response beneath him, her body surrendering to the overwhelming sensations. She clung to him, her arms tightly around his neck, completely lost in the moment. Meanwhile, Rick was approaching a critical point himself. He was torn between continuing with Nicole and saving some energy for Kathy. He was on the brink, uncertain which way to go. Kathy, sensing his dilemma, wrapped an arm around him and shared a deep, meaningful kiss, her gaze locking with his. She seemed to understand his internal struggle. "Focus on her," Kathy whispered, gently urging him to let go. At her words, Rick found himself succumbing to his own powerful climax, equally as consumed by the experience as Nicole was. His movements became more focused and intense, a continuous wave of pleasure overtaking him. He stayed close to Nicole, both of them enveloped in the aftermath of their shared experience. Exhausted and drenched in sweat, Rick lacked the strength to move away from Nicole. Sensing his attempt, Nicole, with the little energy she had left, tightened her embrace, not wanting the moment to end. Kathy, delighted by their evident enjoyment, tried to encompass them both in a warm embrace, showering them with affectionate kisses. "That was incredible," Kathy exclaimed, half joking about wishing she had recorded the moment for posterity. Nicole, lighthearted and amused, responded, "Then I'd be an instant star." Kathy playfully agreed, "You'd be a sensation, for sure. You have such an expressive face in these moments." Nicole's laughter filled the room as she got up and made her way to the bathroom. Upon turning on the light, she was startled by her own reflection. "Oh no, look at my makeup," she exclaimed in mock horror. Hearing her, Rick and Kathy couldn't help but burst into laughter, sharing in the humor of the moment. The room echoed with their joy, a testament to the intimate and playful bond they all shared. One evening, Rick received a call from Kim, his wife. The conversation was terse and strained. After hanging up, Rick's usual easygoing demeanor had vanished, replaced by a troubled expression that Nicole couldn't ignore. Sensing his distress, she gently inquired, and Rick confided in her. Kim had been dishonest about the nature of their open relationship, having concealed a long-term affair with someone close to Rick. The revelation shattered Rick's trust, leaving him feeling betrayed and disillusioned. Nicole listened, offering a comforting presence. In that moment of vulnerability, the walls between them seemed to dissolve. She shared her own experiences of betrayal and heartache, creating a space where they could both be open and raw with their emotions. The bond between them deepened, and they found solace in each other's company. Rick's pain didn't subside, but his connection with Nicole grew stronger. They found themselves spending more time together, their conversations stretching into the night. The attraction between them was undeniable, and it wasn't long before they acknowledged their feelings for each other. Nicole, who had been single since a difficult breakup, found in Rick a kindred spirit. One night, as they sat in Nicole's room, the sound of the rain against the window mirroring the turmoil in Rick's heart, he made a decision. He couldn't continue living a lie with Kim, knowing the trust they built their relationship on had crumbled. He turned to Nicole, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I can't go back to the way things were. I need to start over, and I want you to be a part of my new beginning." Nicole, taken aback, saw the sincerity in his eyes. She knew this was more than a fleeting romance. It was a chance to build something real, something based on mutual respect and understanding. I want that too, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper, but her intent clear. They decided to leave together, to start anew away from the shadows of their past. Rick confronted Kim, ending their marriage with a heart heavy with sadness but also with a sense of relief. He and Nicole embarked on a journey, not just to a new place but to a new phase of their lives. They traveled to a small coastal town, where the ocean seemed to echo their desire for a fresh start. My comment: this is what happens when you have open relationship. One side is going to cheat someday. I found open relationships to be one of the most difficult stories to comment on, because you kind of sign up for an affair when you start it. What do you guys think? Comment down below and I will see you in the next one.